I love YouTube. You know, I spend most of my day on here, either making videos, streaming, or just watching videos. I spend all my time watching videos. I don't watch shows or even anime anymore. I just watch YouTube videos. It's probably really bad for my brain.
Your favorite YouTuber is killing pop culture.
Okay, that's a lot. That's a lot to say, to be honest. Also, I love how we pause in the frame where Mr. Beast just has eyes inside of his nose. I'm not killing pop culture. Okay, so if your favorite YouTuber is me, don't worry. I'm not killing it. I do love watching whenever morepat talks about the meta of YouTube because I spend a whole freaking day here. I just love to learn more about it. And this guy, he's a smart guy. Listen, he's a smart guy. No matter what you think about his Five Nights at Freddy's theories, he's pretty on the nose when it comes to YouTube and the online space.
Me, Mr. Beast, the Game Grumps, Binging with Babish, we are all...
Wait, that's like everyone that I watched in like 2018.
Guilty. In fact, all of YouTube's guilty. And it's not just on this platform either. Netflix, Disney Plus, yeah, them too. Max, Prime Video, absolutely. When it comes right down to it, on-demand viewing of entertainment has slowly eroded away the very fabric of our collective cultural identity. And whether you're...
I have felt this. This is something I think about quite often. It's you can't talk about something when it just comes out with many people anymore. When Netflix drops an entire season of a show, it's not like you can watch an episode and be like, wow, what did you think of that episode, guys? Because someone else is on episode 3, someone else has already finished the series, someone else stayed up all night and watched the entire thing, and then someone else hasn't watched it yet, and then there's a person on episode 7. There's no collective, we're all at the same point and we can all talk about this anymore. And also something I've thought about a lot is the fact that everyone's online interactions and the things that they watch are so curated to them. No one has this one thing that everyone does anymore. Although it does happen, it's not as much. So when you go on YouTube, you watch your YouTube videos that are recommended for you because it's the things that you want to watch. Except, you know, Jimmy from down the street is not watching the same videos. He's watching completely different videos. So you can't talk to him about the videos that you've watched because he doesn't watch them. And it's the same the whole world over. Everyone you work with, your TikTok feed is all different. People be like, did you see this video? No, you didn't see that video. Unless it has like 10 million views, you probably didn't see that video.
Realize it or not, that's a key reason why many of you watching right now are suffering from depression. That's why anxiety levels are on the rise. It's why America is a political hotbed and why so many people are questioning how they fit into the world right now.
That is a big... That's a turn.
All because of this.
Behind me are the most expensive cars in the world.
Dude, it's always Mr. Bean that gets the flack. Poor guy. He just wants to make funny video. It's not necessarily his fault. It's no one's fault. I mean, to be fair, with a Mr. Bean video, with a Mr. Beast video, everyone watches Mr. Beast videos. I haven't watched a Mr. Beast video in a little bit, actually, so that's not technically true, but many more people watch a Mr. Beast video, so you could ask someone, did you see the latest Mr. Beast where he hung upside down for 48 hours straight for $10,000 and dropped money out of his mouth? You could be like, yeah, I saw that Mr. Beast video. But if you ask someone, oh my god, did you see the new episode of Pokemon Radical Red Part 3 on Dads Being Dudes? Hopefully they say yes because that's a great channel, but most of the time they're gonna say, I don't know what that is.
My ability to stream Mr. Beast right now, or The Office.
Today, smoking is gonna save lives.
Or Avengers. Or Bewitched.
Ketchup with my oatmeal.
Or Friends.
Okay, The Avengers was a huge cultural phenomenon though. The same with Game of Thrones and Breaking Bad. There are still those really big shows that will come out. I really don't like the drop a whole season at once style of doing it. You know what still has that old style? Anime. You can still watch the new Jujutsu Kaisen episode and discuss it with all your mates. You can still read the new One Piece chapter or the new One Piece episode, be like, whoa, do you see? Everyone's talking about what happened in the new One Piece thing. That's still around, but it's less powerful and it's less prominent than it was before when everything was kind of like that. When everyone was watching the same shows. When everyone was watching Avengers or The Office.
Or Breaking Bad, or Game of Thrones, or Game...
I literally just said that.
Theory, or Film Theory.
There's so much copyright on this. I don't know who would even claim this. Who is even allowed to claim? Is that Jack's Films video on the bottom right? Oh boy, that was a lot. That was a lot right
Internet.
there.
Welcome to Film Theory, where we're part of the problem. So, have you guys seen Mr. Beast's latest video? At this point, that's kind of a legitimate question, because despite being the #1 channel and all of his videos raking in hundreds of millions of views, there's a non-zero chance that, no, you haven't seen it. How about...
That's the thing, when I speak to, say, my stream chat, if we're all streaming this, if I'm streaming, I assume that the people watching my stream might like the same things I do. So I say, oh my god, I saw this video, X, Y, and Z. No one has any idea what I'm talking about. I talk about a game that I'm playing. No one's heard of the game. I talk about like a series that I'm enjoying. No one's fucking seen the series. If I talk in my stream chat about Warhammer 40k, it's all question marks. They have no idea what's going on. If I tell them that I just read the latest Brandon Sanderson book, no one's got a clue what's going on, which is interesting because you'd think that in a space where it's curated by even just like myself, there'd be similar interests. A lot of the times there isn't.
Ryan Trahan, Eric, Mr. Who's the Boss. These guys are consistently some of the most watched creators on the platform right now, drawing in millions of views with each upload. Are they showing up on your homepage? For a big chunk of you, I guess the answer is no. And I know this because I do actively watch their stuff, and they're not showing up for me. For some reason,
I wonder what is on my homepage right now. You know what? Let's do a little experiment. Okay, my homepage has learning Japanese. We have my second channel videos. We have some Wolfie VGC. We got David Tennant for some reason. I don't know why. Some podcast stuff. Some video essays, where I do love video essays, and a garden explosion. Is it really a oh my god, it is a garden explosion. I'm not going to watch that because that might be bad for the video.
Their videos just aren't ones that YouTube's algorithms are recommending to me. Bet you've noticed this, right? YouTube is different this year. Recommendations feel different. Older videos are cropping up. There's more shorts everywhere. Smaller creators are getting more visibility, and
that's it. Every time I go into my recommendations, there'll always be some random video from someone I've never heard of before that has like 15 views. Look there. Someone uploaded slider-only music from Super Mario 64 3 days ago with 169 views, and it's getting recommended to me. I have no idea why. You know why I think this is? I think YouTube is really trying to push new channels or channels with lower views to give everyone their spot, their time in the sun. Their 15 minutes of fame, because that's what TikTok does. If you make a new TikTok account, your newest videos or your first videos will get a lot of views to make you think, oh my god, TikTok, I love TikTok, let's keep uploading to TikTok. And then you spend more time there, and then it doesn't do as well because maybe your videos aren't entertaining, potentially.
Things that you're being recommended are more tied to what you've searched for or watched recently. I mean, I watched the Hot Ones interview with musician Dave Grohl, and YouTube thinks I'm obsessed with drumming. I'm getting recommended drummer covers, and drummer reviews, and drummer lore. Did you even know that there was drummer lore? Because let me tell you, there is. Basically what's going on.
There's lore about everything. Listen, you're morepat. You know there's lore about everything.
Here is that this year has seen some massive changes on the platform, which merits a whole separate conversation unto itself. But the long and short of it is that my YouTube doesn't look like your YouTube anymore. You know what really proved this one to me? Skibbity Toilet. Seriously. True story, I was recently talking to a big room of Google's higher-ups, and I asked them if they'd ever seen a Skibbity Toilet video. You know, that insanely popular series of viral shorts that's got no...
I wonder if the higher-ups at Google have ever seen Skibbity Toilet. I mean, that doesn't seem like the kind of thing they'd be watching.
35 million subscribers and 12 billion views on their platform in the last 5 months alone. Not a single person in the room had ever heard of it. Regardless of whether you think Skibbity is pure gold or should be flushed down the toilet it came from, that right there, that is telling. And it's not just here on YouTube either. TikTok is really the one that started this whole trend. That's why you always hear people asking, hey, what's on your TikTok? Because in a world where algorithms are...
What's on my feeds? My TikTok feed is entirely D&D TikToks and cat videos, and there is nothing else on there.
Selecting what content you see, there's no guarantee that when I play this...
That's suspicious.
You know what I'm referring to.
I have no idea what that is, morepat.
Part of this is that you're likely getting served content that's precisely targeted at your viewing habits. The bad is that fewer people are now watching the same things. And believe it or not, but watching the same things is a critical part of human survival. In short, if you've been feeling lonely or anxious or depressed or potentially all three, it's because the world has become increasingly fragmented. And on-demand streaming entertainment is a perfect representative of why you're feeling that way. So let's talk about that and also some ways that we can solve it. First, let's just get a sense of the scale that we're talking about here. Think of the biggest shows on television over the last decade. Two that stick out to me are Breaking Bad and Game of Thrones.
They were huge. Everyone was talking about the new episodes when they were dropped, especially Game of Thrones when I was super into it. And then the last season came around. The last season certainly was the last season.
Absolute darlings of the internet. There is no doubt that these were massive deals. Breaking Bad's finale reached 10.3 million people when it originally aired. Meanwhile, Game of Thrones captured 13.6 million, with another
that's tough.
5.7 million watching a rerun or streaming VOD within 24 hours.
And that doesn't include all the people watching on the not-so-good websites.
Those are incredible numbers for a modern show, and yet they're nothing compared to what TV shows saw pre-streaming. For example, let's take a look at Star Trek: The Next Generation. When this show finished in 1994, how many people do you think watched the series finale?
Okay, I'm gonna say, Star Trek? Star Trek was huge, especially in the 90s, so I'm gonna say, like, 30 million.
More than 31 million.
Whoa!
A show that, at the time, was considered by many to be niche nerd content, actually tapped into nearly 3 times the viewers of a modern program. And the numbers just get more insane as you look across more popular IP. 52.
Could you imagine if the internet was like fully in swing when the last Star Trek episode went up or when the first Star Wars movie started? Could you imagine the theories about the Star Wars movies? Like what's going to happen? Who is Darth Vader, etc., etc.? Oh my God.
2.5 million people watched Friends as it ended. Seinfeld got a whopping 76.3 million viewers. I kid you not, people were literally gathered at Times Square to watch the finale together. Cheers was sent off with 80.4 million viewers, and
what the fuck is Cheers?
MASH ended with nearly 106 million people.
What is MASH?
It's the single most watched broadcast in American history that wasn't a Super Bowl, a president resigning, or a moon landing. Sure.
Oh, I think that's probably like an American thing, right?
Mr. Beast can pull 100 million viewers no sweat, but that's talking global numbers across the span of a couple days, with ads that are randomly decided by an algorithm based on your tastes and randomly placed throughout the video based on how you tend to watch videos. By contrast, these massive TV moments were people all at the same time, all in the US, all watching an event unfold together in real time. It was scheduled into their lives. Streets were empty. Everyone was fed the same commercials at the exact same time. And when it
This is what, like when people say they're gonna take a day off work because a new game is coming out. Like, oh, the new Elder Scrolls game is about to drop? Yeah, I'm taking the week off. Sorry, boss, can't come in.
ended, everyone was released as one big unit. So afterwards, when I said, the tribe has spoken, or what's up, or eat my shorts, you got it. You knew the references I was citing and you were able to respond back in kind. It was a shared cultural lingo that you could reasonably assume most people you talked to had also been exposed to. But think about what that means in the age of on-demand video, in the age of YouTube, of TikTok and Netflix. What can you rely on people to actually know? That's just a theory? Yeah, maybe, but for as big as our channels are, we've always been niche. Like, comment, and subscribe. Sure, but it's also too broad. It's too vague.
It means nothing. That means nothing, and people don't do it. If you say, I don't even say it in my videos anymore. If you say like, comment, and subscribe, no one does it. Except, well, people might do it now because I'm making fun of it and saying like it doesn't work, and so people are like, oh, I'm gonna do it now because it doesn't work. I think like it lights the button up when you say like the video or something like that. It lights the button up. It's kind of crazy.
Everything from a beauty vlog to a locksmithing how-to. It says nothing about who you are, who we are as consumers of content. And of course, this isn't only affecting TV. Avengers Endgame was the last big cultural movie moment to happen in theaters.
Yeah, no, it really was. At least it feels like it. I can't think of any other movie that's come out that's really had that big appeal. Someone might say like the Mario movie. No, it didn't. Five Nights at Freddy's did not, absolutely did not. I'm really excited for June 2, though.
Now, just 4 or 5 years later, the pop culture encyclopedia has largely run dry. IP like Marvel and Star Wars were among the last holdouts of shared cultural touchstones, but because of how they've been strip-mined for content, their importance and relevance have largely been on the downswing.
I haven't watched a Marvel show since the first season of Loki, I think, and I have not watched a Star Wars show since Andor, which was really good, to be fair, but I just don't care anymore. Oh, man, I just don't care.
Ever-decreasing box office returns. And what's risen up to replace them? Nothing. Well, nothing except the Taylor Swift Eras Tour.
True, Taylor Swift is fucking huge. I love Taylor Swift. I love Taylor Swift. She is great.
Streaming in theaters. But again, why is that such a big cultural touchstone? Well, because she's one of the only artists to have made it big before this on-demand explosion, with albums dropping in 2006, 2008, 2010, and 2012.
It is crazy that Taylor Swift has been around forever and just recently has like exploded. Everyone talks about Taylor Swift now, but she's been around since like the dawn of time, or I guess 2006, which I was 10 years old, which is basically the dawn of time for me.
Before Spotify came in and solidified music as the on-demand entertainment source it is today. And as a result of getting a foothold early, she's been able to maintain relevance through consistent releases ever since, leading us to today, where she's one of the few music acts that have been able to achieve such huge critical mass and cross-generational boundaries. But after Tay-Tay, who's next? Who rises up? What musical acts have had the same sort of cultural relevance?
I don't know. I mean, I couldn't even answer that. Like, there was Eminem at one point. I feel like he's not as kind of fell oof a little bit. Eminem fell oof. There was Kanye, but no, not anymore. Nope, don't want to be seen liking that guy anymore. I don't even know who would replace them.
I'd say K-pop comes pretty close, but the audience is now too divided for any one artist to attain that much of your attention. And so I can't just turn to the person next to me and ask if they stan Kim Tae-young or make a casual reference to color-changing soup and just expect them to know what I'm talking about. Now, on one hand, this rise of on-demand viewing is a good thing. Theoretically, you're being shown things that actually interest you. Videos, movies, games, and music that are all tailored to your specific individual wants.
Disco Elysium is the greatest game of all time. There, I said it. Disco Elysium is the best written game of all time. No game is written better than Disco Elysium. If you think that there is one, you're wrong. Please play it. It's so fucking good. Please play Disco Elysium. It's oh my god. It's like top 3 games. Top 3 games, Disco Elysium, BioShock, and Baldur's Gate 3. Bam.
Instead of what a corporate board of directors in Burbank, California deemed to be the next popular thing. But because we don't know what anyone else has seen, is listening to, is playing, quoting, or memeing, we lose the pop in pop culture. At the end of the day, you don't have popular culture if nothing is actually popular with everyone. But why's that, man?
The Mario movie was pretty popular, though.
Can't we all just live in our happy little bubbles and carry on? Well, it turns out that at the end of the day, that bubble doesn't end up being very happy. The reason is that popular culture supplies us with a lot more than hummable tunes and weird Euphoria clips where everyone's crying. It supplies us with connection. One of the easiest ways to connect with someone that you don't know is to find a piece of IP that you both know something about. Wait a minute, you also watched the finale of Seinfeld? Well, hello! Oh, you saw Infinity War? Why didn't they just go for the head? You listened to Taylor Swift.
Okay, if someone says, oh, did you like this thing that I liked? I'm gonna quote it. I'd be like, yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know. That's not really gonna like spark a friendship. Kind of sound a little strange.
Dude, that's awesome. What era's your favorite? But is pop
I love Taylor Swift 1989. That's my favorite one.
Culture becomes more individualized. The group we feel that we can truly connect with becomes smaller and smaller. Does that sound like I'm overstating the importance of these connections? Well, it turns out the fracturing of pop culture platforms coincides with a huge rise in feelings of loneliness and isolation in our society, especially here in the US, where we've already placed a high value on the idea of independence.
Especially after a 2-year period where basically no one was allowed to go outside or interact with each other. That compounded with the fact that we all watch different things now just means that no one can connect over anything.
A Gallup poll from 1980 showed that 20% of the population felt lonely. That same poll in 2020 reported that 36% of people, more than 1 in 3, was grappling with some form of serious loneliness. But that was 2020, right? That was the pandemic. You'd think that coming back from the pandemic would have improved the situation. But polls in 2023, 2 years after lockdowns have ended in most places, they show that loneliness continues to climb, with some studies reporting
I think that maybe it had a very long-term effect on people.
60% of respondents feeling isolated, lonely, or struggling to make personal connections. And these stats aren't just like, oh, that's really sad.
Well, hey, if you're struggling to make personal connections, I have a Discord server that you could join. It's free. You can just join it if you want to and just have some cool people in there if you're looking to meet new people, if you want. It's in the description, I think.
It's an epidemic that disproportionately affects people under the age of 25. That's not to say older generations haven't dealt with mental health or loneliness. They do, frequently, but it often goes underdiagnosed in those populations. That said, the statistics overwhelmingly show that the vast majority of younger people are dealing with loneliness on a regular basis. And they're, of course, also the people that have spent their lives in this fractured pop cultural world with fewer anchor points that connect them to other people. Instead, the only things that unite us now, the only things that are truly able to cut through the noise are the tragedies. In an absence of fun moments like a new Star Wars movie or an Avengers film or a new concert, bad news is the thing that rises to the top of every social media feed.
Yeah, new wars, horrific things, disasters.
Natural disasters, shootings,
people being killed.
Political upheaval. And while it isn't bad that people are more aware of those problems and injustices, this constant cycle of never-ending bad news with absolutely no levity cutting through has had a marked effect on the mental health of younger generations. But okay, I hear you saying that it's not fair to blame all our loneliness and isolation on these platforms. Like the fact that my TikTok doesn't serve me the same goalie cat clip yours does makes the world a sadder place.
Wait, I wanted to see that video. Damn it, why didn't you play the rest of the video?
No, of course not. It's not only the platforms, but pop culture is part of a much bigger splintering that only looks worse the more you dig in. Pop culture obviously isn't the only way we relate to other people. There are lots of ways that people share interests and feel like we live in a society. And these ways are often listed out in various identity theories that have been made across history.
like hobbies. Yeah, things like sports, like the games that you play, because if you play the same game as someone else, you can relate over that, and that's not necessarily something that you need to see at the same time as everyone else. As long as you played it at one point, you can still discuss it with the same amount of knowledge, I guess.
Sports, religion, your job, your ethnic background, maybe your political views, any of these things might be enough to bring you together with someone else. The problem is that we're losing ground in these areas as well. All of them. For instance, looking at religious service attendance, it peaked.
Oh yeah, it's definitely going down. I feel like people are being very becoming less and less religious, at least in Western countries. I know in the UK, it's certainly dropping. Across a lot of Europe, it's most likely dropping. I haven't got the numbers for that. It's definitely dropping in the UK a lot. Like, there's very few. I don't know any religious people in the UK. I know it's more of a big thing in America, and I know some religious people in America, but I still think that it's going down. But in countries that are not as Western, I think it's still pretty high, right? And you can still make connections that way.
1960, and it's been on the decline for the last 30 years. In fact,
whether or not you believe that that is a good thing or a bad thing, it's just a thing, right?
10% since 2012 alone.
And one of the good things about religion in general, not that I'm a religious person, but just something I believe, is that it does bring people together, and it does make people form connections, and it makes people do good things where maybe they necessarily wouldn't have otherwise. Not that they'd be a bad person, but it just makes them feel better about just doing good in general.
What about our shared love of the good old US of A? Patriotism in the US has also plummeted across the last 10 years, most significantly among younger people.
I always think this question is weird. Like, extremely proud to be American. I don't really understand that, because sure, I mean, you live in a country, that's fine, but if you're proud to be an American, you haven't necessarily done anything. You've just spawned in a country, right? You spawned there, and that's just, you're just in a better land with other people, and there's shared cultural values, obviously, and that's very important. But proud to be an American? Pride to me is based off of things that you have done. And if you are proud of someone else has done, right? To have a group so large of hundreds of millions of people, it becomes a little bit too ambiguous. It's a bit too big to be proud of hundreds of millions of people collectively together. But maybe I'm wrong, like in a situation where we globally got rid of cancer or something, I'd say that I'm proud of humanity for getting rid of cancer. So there's different ways of looking at that, certainly. I'm not proud to be like British or anything. Not right now. There's not much to be proud of apart from like the NHS, which is crumbling, because regardless, I'm not necessarily proud to live in the country that I live in, which makes it harder for me to picture or see from that perspective of someone who is proud to be in the country that they live in, because you can't spawn there.
On top of being the prime demographic to feel lonely and isolated, young people on platforms like YouTube and TikTok are also more likely to be politically informed, and they've become cynical about their political identity. In 2016, almost 40% of people under 29 reported feeling proud to be an American, and then they hummed that lyric by Lee Greenwood. Checking back in 2023, that number is just 18%. So, okay, not really connected on religion or patriotism, but hey, you can always meet people at your job. Oh, never mind. The workplace has been completely upended in the last 5 years, just in time for Gen Z to enter the workforce and look for jobs. But maybe those jobs are remote jobs. Maybe they're in person. Maybe it's halvesies. Maybe it's the gig economy. Maybe they'll strike. And all the while, there'll be a ton of inflation, and Logan Paul is going to be telling them they should be investing in crypto. 70% of millennials and Gen Z workers are considering quitting their jobs as I speak. And high percentages of...
Because they have no investige in the jobs that they're doing. Why would they care? I really fucking hate it when the older folk are like, oh my god, young people just don't want to work. Why? Everything is so expensive now. Minimum wage is the same. You can't buy anything. Why would you be invested in a job where you basically make no money? You solely exist to enrich your boss, and now you're complaining about the person that is doing that? You're exploiting younger people with very little experience and very little leverage to be able to get themselves into a better position, and now you're complaining about the fact that you're not able to exploit them as much anymore because they have absolutely no motivation and they're fucking depressed because you made them sad because they can't do anything. They can't buy a house. They can't move anywhere. They can't do anything. Everything is expensive, and they have no money to be able to buy anything because you're not paying them enough. No wonder they think about quitting that job. Why would you want to stay? It's all terrible. There are good jobs out there, and there are nice people, but the outlook for young people is not so good right now.
Gen X workers in fields like tech and healthcare are feeling burned out due to work and finances. People's identities are no longer associated with the place they work because people don't view those places as reliable or helpful anymore. They feel feel financially insecure and underpaid, enough so that basically half
It's because they are.
of all Zoomers, Millennials, and Gen Xers all have themselves a side hustle. My parents, by contrast, have worked in the same job for over 40 years, so for them, their job is a core part of their identity. But for young people now, they're disillusioned with corporate culture and mostly just want to get out. So your job's not making you any positive connections these days. What then does that leave us with? Well, according to identity theory, it leaves us with things like extreme political views, or extreme viewpoints on topics like gender, or extreme stances on race.
Gender. I mean, listen, if you're just a random person, you spend all day thinking about gender, like, what are you doing, man? I don't understand that there'll be so many people that are just transphobic for no reason. They'll sit in their house all day and just be mad at imaginary people that they've made up, imaginary trans people that have done things that they haven't even done, and will fume and rage over completely innocuous things that don't affect these other people's lives whatsoever. How can you sit there and just be mad about it all day? How is your life so sad that you're just spewing on Twitter about how non-binary options in video games is destroying society? Come on, man.
All these areas where we've historically worked to break down barriers, improve communication, and at least attempt to work together. Instead, walls are now getting built back up as we attempt to define ourselves by how we're different from the other side. The scope of all of those things goes well beyond this little old theory on the internet, but suffice it to say, these are areas where a large percent of the population also feels divided or isolated or scared, and doesn't feel able to connect with those on the other side of the issue. So the TLDR is that if you feel like it's a really lonely time out there and it's bizarrely hard to make connections with your fellow humans on any basic level, you're right. We are more fractured and divided than ever.
I have the solution. We all play D&D. We all play D&D. We all get D&D groups together and we all play D&D. Then that'll solve it.
Where we turn, and it's because the institutions around us that used to give us connection and identity are crumbling. So what then do we do? In a time when we really want to feel connected with something,
play D&D.
What's the thing that'll help make us feel connected? How do you possibly beat a series of systems that keep us siloed? Well, ironically, it's in the place where we started this episode, stories. Whether that's in YouTube videos, movies, TV, video games, wherever, hearing other people's genuine stories about what they're going through makes us feel
The guy on the left was Sam Bankman-Fried.
Connected to them. It helps us understand that other people are going through what we're going through. It helps us to feel like we're not alone. They help us feel seen. One of the most popular movies of the last year has been Puss in Boots: The Last Wish.
Great movie, by the way.
Hugely, inexplicably popular. Except what's it about? Well, the theme is identity. It's about being lonely. It's about finding your place and your relationship with someone else when the identity you thought you had crumbles away. Huh, go figure. Kind of matches what we're talking about. Or how about the biggest movie of the year, Barbie? You know,
Was Barbie the biggest movie of the year? Really? I feel like Oppenheimer maybe it wasn't.
The story about a person, a doll thing in a world where their role used to be clear-cut, but now she doesn't know what her place is anymore, what her identity is, which has left her feeling, say it with me now, lonely and isolated. And she finds herself in the end by being a woman. And there's that big speech in there about how hard it is to be a mother and a woman and how there's so many expectations. Oh my gosh, it's almost like this whole movie is relatable. The stories that now cut through the noise don't shy away from this splintered feeling. Instead, they face those feelings head on. Authenticity and honesty about the one universal that we all feel, loneliness, is actually what's helping to unite us. YouTube, which has been the world's most frantic viewing experience for the last 3 years, is just now fully finding itself swinging in the opposite direction. Simple conversations with Moist Critical about current events, human experiences like eating with Eddie Burback and Ted Nivison at Margaritaville's, the lonely man's cuisine.
I do love those videos though. Those are just so good.
Investing in human stories is feeling refreshing again. Even Mr. Beast has openly talked about pulling back from his ADHD-inducing editing style to a narrative format where he sounds more human and allows an actual story to unfold in his videos because that's what's keeping people engaged, rather than just more and more suitcases of money opening up every 10 seconds. Will this instantly solve all our problems? The root cause that makes us feel so divided? Have us feeling great and making lots of friends and have hair-braiding sleepovers soon? No, definitely not. But there's a recognition.
It won't, because we're still stuck online. We're all very, very online, at least most people, and it's hard to make real connections with people that you cannot speak to in person.
Out there that talking to real people, telling real stories, and being honest about.
I'm sorry, I've watched the stock footage twice, And I've realized that none of them talk in it. They just kind of laugh.
Where we are, it pays off. While we're in this phase of splintered existence, seek out the real great stories that feel honest to where you are right now. Don't be afraid to talk about what it's like to be lonely, and do it in increments that are longer than 3 seconds. You could even go out on a limb and not set it to a trending sound. It's not guaranteed that everyone else you know will see the same things you will, watch the same movies you will, play the same games, or have the same experience.
But you should play Baldur's Gate. It is the best.
But the important thing is that by watching and sharing stories that are real and relatable, we'll start a new pop cultural trend built on what it means to be human, with all the ups and downs that entails. And you know what? It's not a bad place to start. But hey, that's just a theory.
That was a really good video, you know. That wasn't exactly the way that I thought the video was going to go, but we had some pretty good discussions about a lot of different things, and I'm excited to hear what you think in the comment section. So if you do enjoy any of things like that, please subscribe to Film Theory. Of course, I'm sure you already know. You can already subscribe to Film Theory. Bam, like just like that. A little flashy button thing is great. And if you want to see more of my dumb face, you can subscribe to this channel as well.